Several counties in our area under a burn ban which prohibits outdoor burning of any kind.
There is currently a burn ban in Washington, Benton, Madison, Boone, and Carroll counties, along with Van Buren. 5 News reporter Claire Everbach is live at the Rogers Fire Department with what residents should know.
Good morning, Tiffany. Good morning, Joe. Well, as you can tell, it is quite windy this morning, and those conditions have remained dry over the past few weeks, as Danny mentioned. If you live in Northwest Arkansas and you've seen smoke in the area in the last few weeks, it's more than likely been from what's called prescribed burns. Those are also known as controlled burns, and they aim to reduce the ultimate wildfire risk by getting rid of debris in forest areas. In areas where there are a lot of trees, there can be things like leaves, dead limbs, and grass that are left behind, which creates fuel for wildfires. Prescribed burns allow crews to clear that debris in a controlled way by setting fire lines, choosing specific areas, and burning under safer conditions so fires don't spread uncontrollably. These burns can also improve wildlife habitat, control invasive plants, and help restore natural ecosystems. Local fire departments say the timing of these burns is critical, with crews trying to complete them earlier in the year before peak fire season sets in.
They try to do the prescribed burns in like February, March, because that's earlier in the year and it's usually a little wetter. For us, it's really probably May through September is when it's the hottest and driest, especially you get in the middle of like July. And it's just so windy and so dry that everything catches when it gets going.
Anyone caught during the burn ban could face fines or criminal charges. If you do see a fire getting out of control in your area, you're encouraged to contact your local fire department immediately. Live in Rogers, covering news where you live, Claire Everbach, 5 News.
Well, today is the final day of early voting ahead of the runoff election tomorrow. Now, multiple local statewide races are returning on the ballot after the March 3rd primary. While some races are decisive, others will decide the party nomination for the general election in November. We have some key races to watch out for: the Republican runoff for sheriffs in Madison and Johnson counties, and for Washington County judge. Also, the race for the Republican nomination of Secretary of State. Now, for a list of early voting sites and times, you can text the word VOTE to 479-785-5000. All right, in other news this morning, suspected Devil's Den killer Andrew McGann back in court this week.
McGann faces 2 capital murder charges in the deaths of Clinton and Kristen Brink from last July. McGann is set to appear before a judge Wednesday morning in Fayetteville. Motions were filed earlier this month, including one from the defense that claims that a campaign video for prosecutor Brandon Carter violated a court order. It's unclear if the judge will issue a ruling on the matter this week. Well, investigators allege that McGann murdered the Brinks right there on your screen while they were hiking with their daughters at Devil's Den State Park. Both girls managed to escape the attack. McGann was arrested days later while getting a haircut in Springdale. He's been in the Washington County Jail since the arrest.
Well, President Trump says the U.S.-Israeli war against Iran may be short-lived. More than a month after it was launched, while traveling to the White House, he told reporters negotiations are progressing.
We are negotiating with them directly and indirectly. We have emissaries, but we also are dealing directly.
President Trump says Iran is allowing around 20 oil tankers to proceed through the Strait of Hormuz as a shutdown of shipping causes oil and gas prices to spike. But there are indications the U.S. may be planning to expand the war as thousands of additional American service members arrive in the region. Some Democrats say that they're skeptical that the president is actually negotiating with Iran.
Is that because you haven't been briefed as a member of Congress on the diplomacy, or you think he's flat out lying?
I think he's flat out lying.
Now, President Trump also continues to raise the possibility of military action in Cuba, saying that country will be next. And we're hearing from Arkansas Senator Tom Cotton on the war with Iran.
Over the weekend, he spoke on Fox News in favor of the campaign, saying that he believes it's nearing its end.
Yeah, also saying that pulling back too soon could leave U.S. troops and allies vulnerable to future attacks.
I've said from the beginning I expect this campaign to last weeks, not months, and I think that's still a good estimate, but we have to see it to the end. We cannot stop early and allow Iran to have the military capability to continue to terrorize the United States and the rest of the civilized world.
Well, Senator Cotton says that the White House and Pentagon have outlined the end goal to strip Iran of its ability to launch long-range missiles and prevent any future threats to the U.S. or its allies.
This morning, legislation to fund the TSA is in limbo in Congress while the nation's airports continue to deal with staffing shortages at checkpoints. Bradley Blackburn has the latest.
Long lines lingered at some airports over the weekend. In Baltimore Sunday, officials warned flyers to show up at least 3 hours early.
She got in line while I went to go check the bags, and we just got through one loop and it's been an hour.
The partial government shutdown is now the longest in history. And as TSA officers work without pay, sick calls remain about 5 times higher than normal. In cities where officers drive long distances to work, some say high gas prices mean they can't afford to get there.
How can I show up if I don't have the ability to?
Friday, President Trump signed an emergency order to pay TSA employees with checks promised as soon as today. But ICE support at checkpoints is staying in place.
We're going to continue an ICE presence there until the airports feel like they're in 100%.
A permanent fix to fully fund the Department of Homeland Security requires Congress to act. The House and Senate have passed bills with different temporary solutions, but Congress is now in a 2-week recess. Democrats are still demanding changes to ICE tactics.
We're asking that guys not dress like Navy SEALs when they go into Minneapolis. We're asking that they wear badges the way every other police officer does, that they have warrants when they break down doors.
We need ICE. We need Border Patrol.
President Trump wants Congress to pass legislation that also includes voter ID requirements and other measures. Democrats have called his emergency order to pay TSA illegal because it sidesteps Congress. Bradley Blackburn, CBS News, New York.